Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle. Trojans in Mourning, or I don't know. I'm not sure what the show is called, but it's not a happy show. This is post Notre Dame. And if you needed a wake-up call about where USC stands in terms of how it compares to playoff teams, we got a glimpse of that. So fortunately, there's a bye next week, which means that everybody can heal up and we don't have to talk about another game. We can spend the whole time talking about USC Notre Dame. So if that sounds pleasurable to you, let's get started. Okay, guys. All of us understood that that was a tough game, right? Everybody knew going into that. Winning at South Bend is hard, even for really good USC teams. Notre Dame was on a roll offensively and starting to play much better defense. So losing that game, even losing by 10, not the end of the world, right? But the way they lost. Greg, this feels like a Greg episode. So I'm going to...
Oh, boy. You really put the pressure on, Arledge. I'm only going to do this because I know if once you get humming,
I don't even want
to be the end of the world. I know that.
I don't even want to start. Greg?
Okay, sure.
Give us your impressions of that game.
Disappointing. Absolutely disappointing. Surprising? No. Intellectually, I said they're going to take it to us. My heart, as I said in the last huddle show, I said my brain says Notre Dame, my heart says USC. So I'm going to go with my heart because I wanted that to happen. But no, it wasn't a shock. I think the sad part about the game was not the score per se, it's how they lost. I think, getting beat up like that, and everybody has a hand in it. Riley's play calling certainly again, was not. Everybody says what a great play calling he had against Michigan. Well, he was playing a much better team than Michigan. I was brought to the reality that really you can keep changing players if you want, but the results are a little bit better against the lesser known teams, shall we say. But in the end, it was like been there, done that too many times. And it's hard to sit there and try to find a light at the end of the tunnel because to me, there was no light. I don't know how much you want me to get into this, but the bottom line is the things that everybody was worried about Maeva, he's been much better. I thought he had done pretty well this season. I don't think you get an argument with that. But the fear that he would throw an interception or what have you, in a big game, in a big moment, in a really hostile environment, that happened. The worry about a special teams coach not being there. But you know what? I saw the run back. Obviously, the SC missed two big tackles they could have had. The guy would have never been there. It was the type of thing that you said, I've seen this way too many times before. I didn't get overly depressed, about it, but I was really disappointed. And I think if you're an SC fan, you're scratching your head. And I will say this, Lincoln Riley, he tries hard, no doubt about it. His best days were at Oklahoma. He's won games at SC. Okay, that's what he's supposed to do. But he's supposed to win big games. And in the fourth year, this is what we see against a team that they could have beaten. They shouldn't have beaten them because they didn't play well enough to beat them. But if he didn't have a contract, it was so much money. I've been told that if SC really wanted to go after the money, they could possibly buy him out. I don't think that's going to happen, at least this year. But the fact of the matter is if he didn't have that money situation there, I would say there'd be a lot of questioning depending how this season ends. And I'm sorry to say that because I think I can say this pretty bluntly, and I think all four of you probably would agree with me. I'm really sick of seeing this happen over and over and over and over again. And it's just really, unfair, I think, to SC fans who have tried to weather all these storms and everything else. And if I was Lincoln Riley, and I'll just stop it with this, I'd be very careful of the comments that I make that are going to come back to bite me. Uh, I know coaches have to say positive things to keep their players up. I get that. I've been in that situation. But you know what? Right now, you better just show what you can do on the field. And right now, after Notre Dame, as far as the playoffs go, it's not looking bright. Let's put it that way.
So, Mark, you are a glass half full kind of guy, and we need that this week. 9 wins is still a real possibility. Mathematically, 10 wins is a possibility. That USC team is not winning Eugene. Just stop. That being said, 9 wins is still a real possibility. It won't be easy, right? On the road at Nebraska, challenge, even though they're not that good. It's a road game, hostile circumstances. Iowa plays tough football. All of a sudden, UCLA started playing football again. It won't be easy to get 9. If USC gets to 9-3, that's still a decent season under the circumstances, right, Mark? And they probably hold together the recruiting class, and the talent level next year will be better than this year. So I'm trying to talk myself into not being in despair. Help me. I need help. That's not my strong suit.
So we actually had this conversation on the ride back from South Bend in the car, Eric, Scott, and I. And you're probably not going to like my answer, Chris. So, yes, 9 wins is an improvement on last year. But I think we would also agree 9 wins at USC is still considered a down season. And saying, oh, well, we got 9 wins or 9-3 regular season, it feels like you're kind of settling. You're settling into that, oh, this is acceptable. We got 9 wins. Lincoln Riley's 4th year. We're exactly where we should be. And I don't think any one of us would say that's where USC should be 4 years into Lincoln Riley's tenure. Are they improving in areas? Have they taken a step forward in areas? Have they taken 2 steps back after taking a step forward? Yes. I mean, I'm still a glass half full. I still think there is a chance you can go up and play a perfect game and win in Eugene.
No.
I said perfect.
I don't even want to talk about that game right now.
I'm trying to hold up to your standards of who I am.
I appreciate that.
Jeez.
Well, again, will that happen? Probably not. Now, I disagree with one thing Greg said. USC did not deserve to win that game. Notre Dame was doing everything in their power to give USC the game, despite how poorly USC played. So in that regard, yeah, USC had some stuff happen differently on their own end. Maybe get some fortuitous referee calls. Maybe they win the game. That's not why they lost at all. That's not what I'm trying to claim.
Thank you, Mark. That was very insightful.
But USC was in the game. They took the lead in the 3rd quarter, which, by the way, they've had a lead in every single game the last 2 seasons in the second half. So you're trying to find out why they can't close the job, why they can't finish. You take the lead, the next thing you do, you give up the kickoff return for a touchdown. It's the guy they brought in from Penn State to play middle linebacker. And it happened before the hold that sprung the whole thing loose. But it's those types of things that they seem to happen whenever USC, it looks like they're ready to take that next step. They had the lead in the late 3rd quarter at Notre Dame. And then boom, went the dynamite.
Frankly, it was a minor miracle that USC took the lead in that game, right? I mean, it's not very often that you're going to get that you can't stop the run at all, like at all, and still find yourself ahead that late in a football game. It was stunning that it happened, and that's because if Notre Dame had lost that game to USC, Notre Dame's offensive coordinator would be in a freight on a ship headed to Bolivia or so. I mean, they would have run that guy out of town. Every time they threw the ball, it was a gift. When they threw the ball and got a first down, I cheered. I said, this is great. They're still committed to balance. Please be more committed to balance, because I know if you just hand the ball to the running back, USC has no answer. None. Okay, Eric, you're usually the voice of moderation and reason. You're not as down as Greg. You're not as up as Mark. You're not as cruel to
Pessimistic as Chris.
not as cruel to people as I am.
You are cruel, no question.
Just wait. Eric, USC fans looking at this Notre Dame game, which we all knew was a measuring stick game, right? We had the bad defensive performance against Illinois. A lot of people put their hopes in bad chicken as the explanation for that. We knew we were playing a good team, probably not a great team. I don't think they're going to win a title this year, but a good team at a very tough venue. It's always a measuring stick game for USC. And they come out and play like that. How should USC fans look at the first 7 games of this season, and how should they look at the near term future with Lincoln Riley?
That's a big question for a bye week.
Yeah.
So it's going to sound a little bit crazy coming off of that game.
I love it.
I'm not super down on the direction of the program. And I think where that comes from is if you look back at Lincoln Riley's first year, right? Everyone wants to throw out it's year whatever. It's year 4 going to year 5. It's year 5, like other teams have done it quicker. This should have been quick. That's a right. If as it stands now with 12 teams, that's a playoff team in year 1, right? And then it feels a little bit different if you're in the playoff that year as a whatever seed, 10, 11. I think they were 8 at the end of the year before bowl games. Now there's other stuff in there too. Your defensive coordinator, all that. But you don't get the bounce at that point. And there was such a rush to let's play right now. Let's get good right now. We've got Caleb Williams. We got to win now. First year, second year, we got to win now. The build of the program started in 2023, right? Your offensive linemen, right now, your entire line, a bunch of your defensive linemen, they came in 2023. That's 3 years where you need those guys to get there. So in terms of building that front on both sides and all of that, this is it's been a shorter amount of time than the full Lincoln Riley experience. And so I can buy into that build is happening and you're seeing it better and better. Again, I'm taking a non-specific to Notre Dame because you still have these, I don't even want to call them, they're not even speed bumps. They're like walls that you're running into. Like you're limping over them when you come out of these games. But I do think in a lot of the young guys up front, right? Jakeem Stewart is like the one guy where you can go, hey, when that guy's on the field, I'm getting 100% effort and he's going to affect a play. Like they aren't getting enough of that from enough guys. And so for me, the biggest question right now is you've had 2 weeks this season where it feels like you've gotten a lot of national attention. And here, are they feisty a little bit? Like look what they did over the first 4 games. Now they got a chance to prove themselves. Oh, look what they did against Michigan. Now they got a chance. Now both of those weeks lined up with road games. Like you got to go play on the road. Now you got to go play against kind of Illinois was by far the best team they played at that point. Notre Dame by far the best team they played at this point. And you've just gotten run over. You've gotten run over on both sides. And that's where it becomes, are you hearing too much and you can't really focus week to week and you can turn it on coming off a loss and get upset and then play hot. But when you are coming off a win, you can't find that during practice and in the prep. Or are you really just like playing on the road is just not possible. And we've seen a bunch of road teams lose this year. And I know that coaches go back and forth on talking about the challenges and all that stuff, but you better figure that out because you signed up for this and it's coming every year. Like Rutgers isn't coming close. Penn State's not moving to Arizona. I mean, these trips aren't West Coast trips. So that's where it becomes those are long-term things that you have got to figure out because you can play bad and steal a win. That was in the realm of possibilities in that game. You can play bad and steal a win. But the getting sort of pushed around and we got to figure that out and that sort of thing, that's where it becomes an issue because I look back at that Michigan game. That wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke that they beat. Like they beat Michigan. That Michigan team is fine. It's not going to win the Big Ten. That's a fine Michigan team and a type of team that if you're really good, you do that too. So I'm not gonna erase all of that because of what happened at Notre Dame. But the fact that what happened at Notre Dame can still happen to you is, not five alarming, but like multiple alarming at this point. And it's got to be figured out. It's got to be figured out. It's got to be built up with what we talked about, young guys coming in, developing them, all of that. And it's got to be an attitude thing. I mean, Notre Dame, you could hear in how Coach Freeman talked about it. You could hear how the players talked about it. Like that was a challenge they put to themselves and they showed up to answer it. And from the second snap of the game, is USC here? Are they here? Second defensive snap of the game. You just could you didn't know if they were going to play that day. And that's a question that's got to be answered.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard not to just go off on a rant because I don't know that that's productive. And besides, I already did it in writing. You can go to the WeAreSC. You can go to the WeAreSC site. You can see my extended thoughts that I wrote on a plane after being soaked the whole night, having to drive all the way back to Chicago through that ridiculous town, South Bend, where you can't even get to the freeway without driving an hour. Then I had got 4 hours sleep. So that was the mood I was in when I was writing that article. It shows. I stand by every bit of it, by the way. But here's my problem with it. USC has, for about the last 15 years, squandered the legacy that had been built up by a lot of teams over a lot of years. USC is supposed to be the program that will come and beat you up. They're not always going to win. Sometimes you turn the ball over. Sometimes you don't play well, right? I mean, even good teams lose, especially in college football now. USC should not just get pushed around and humiliated that way. That shouldn't happen. It certainly shouldn't happen in year 4. It shouldn't happen twice in the span of 3 weeks. And at this point, my concern is that everybody in the country looks at USC and says, yeah, they can throw the ball around. They have some good athletes. Mekhi Lemon's really good. They have some guys on defense that can run around and play a little bit and are going to play in the NFL. But they're not tough. It's a soft program. That's what everybody thinks. It's a soft program. All you have to do is punch them in the face and you have them. That's what everybody says. So USC decided to get bigger. They go out and spend a bunch of money on defensive coaches that have been successful in other places. They get this big defensive line that the coaches are excited about. They talk about these guys all off season and tell us how different it is. And then they go out there and look like an Alex Grinch defense for the second time in 3 weeks. That's just freaking unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And I don't want to hear from people, well, we got a good recruiting class coming in. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I think they'll have a good recruiting class coming in. But what's the problem right now? We went in and got those 2 big SEC defensive linemen that we thought could control the A-gaps. They hardly play. When they do, they don't control the A-gaps. We have Anthony Lucas, an elite recruit when he came out of high school, who showed some things last year, right? You've got Devin Tompkins. The coaches couldn't stop gushing about Devin Tompkins and how amazing he is. You got J.D. Abasiri, who played as a true freshman. He's a big, strong guy, a physical freak. You've got a couple of freshmen. You've got Jakeem Stewart, who, by the way, Jakeem Stewart is going to be a superstar. You've got these guys, and I ask, okay, why can't that group be competitive? I'm not saying win at Notre Dame. Winning at Notre Dame is hard. I get that. It's not even the loss. It's the fact that every time Notre Dame handed off to the running back, I was hoping that they could hold them to 7 yards. I mean, for crying out loud. That was absurd. And I think everybody's right. USC is a soft program. That doesn't mean that they don't have tough guys on the team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a program that doesn't come after you. Notre Dame came after USC. I don't know how much more talented Notre Dame is. I honestly don't know. But Notre Dame came after USC. USC did not. And oftentimes, especially on the road, they do not. That's unacceptable.
We had said going in, I mean, I don't remember if I said it on here, but I think I'd written it or talked to people where that was one of those games defensively where it's like, look, if CJ Carr throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, but you hold those running backs in check and you win the line of scrimmage in the run game, that's fine. That's fine. That's one of those things you live with. And guess who played that out exactly that way? That's exactly what Notre Dame did.
Yep.
J.M. was going to throw for 340 yards. We're going to get burned a couple times on big plays, and we are going to control the box and limit the running game. Now, USC is playing without its top 2 running backs. If Notre Dame was playing without its top 2 running backs, we're probably having a different conversation.
They still get 2. They get 2.
Could not even exploit the advantage they had up the middle on both sides of the ball.
They get 240 with me at running back in that game.
But that was it, right? Notre Dame was willing to say, we are going to throw absolutely everything we can at the line of scrimmage, and you are not going to beat us there. And we're gonna deal with the big plays that we give up. And watching that play out, the whole thing was this probably should have been. And then you would have taken advantage of CJ Carr having like one of easily his worst game and one of the worst games a USC opposing quarterback has had in a long time.
They did that knowing that they had no answer at some of our spots, right? They figured that they have maybe the best corner in the country. They figured that he was going to cause problems for Mekhi Lemon or whoever they want to put him on. They put him on Mekhi quite a bit. And he did. I mean, Mekhi won some of those matchups, but he didn't have the sort of success he'd had otherwise. But they knew they were going to have problems everywhere else. And those guys were holding almost every play. And they got called a lot of times, not always. But they just figured, we're not going to let them be two-dimensional. We are not going to let them do to us what they did to Michigan. They cannot be balanced. We're going to get after them. Are they going to throw over the top of us a couple of times? Yeah, probably. Are they going to make some plays downfield? Yeah, probably. But we are not going to let them be. We are not going to let them be balanced. We are not going to let him sit back and have all day to throw. We're just not going to do it. USC, in a situation where they should have been even more in on that, right? Notre Dame has some good pass catchers. They do. They don't have Mekhi Lemon. They don't have Jacoby Lane. They also don't have a guy with Jade Maya's experience. They have a true freshman quarterback and the best running back tandem in the country. If there's ever a game that shouted out for let's go, let's stack the box, let's get after these guys, do not let them beat us with the run, make that freshman beat Theismann's 500 yards that he threw for USC back in the day if they want to win. If there's ever a game that called out for that strategy, that was a game. And USC refused to do it. They refused to do it even after early in the game. It was obvious they didn't have an answer to the running game with the plan they brought. Because that was obvious after the first series. You watch the first series, oh my gosh, we in trouble. You got to do something. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at that long run here in a minute, and I'm going to show you why I don't think USC was even serious about stopping the run. It is mind-boggling to me that they came out with that strategy while Notre Dame went after our guys with the exact strategy that would have obvious for us to pursue. And I don't know if it would. I mean, maybe those guys still would have had runs. I don't know. But I know you can't lose like that. You can't lose like that to your biggest rival. You can't lose like that on the biggest stage you play on. You cannot lose like that when you have played soft football for the better part of a decade and a half, and everybody's pointing at you saying those guys aren't tough enough to beat a tough team, and then you go out and play like that. Listen, USC fans, don't you dare complain to me about rankings. Don't you dare complain to me about point spreads until USC actually shows they can man up against a good football team and push back. We have no business complaining about any of that stuff. They were all right. Every single one of them was right. We ridiculed the 10-point spread. We ridiculed all those guys picking against us. We ridiculed all the people that say USC is soft. And then USC went out and proved them right and us fools. And that is extraordinarily frustrating right now.
And the inconsistency too, right? I mean, again, the Michigan game, they did that. They did that against Michigan. And that's, look, the Notre Dame game just in a vacuum is frustrating on its own. But and coaches talk about it all the time. He plays because he's, it's just consistency. We like his consistency. We need to be more consistent. Like they say consistent or consistency 1,000 times in every interview. It's all they talk about. They don't need you to be the best player on this play and then whiff on this one. Like they need you to be consistent. And that's where it's frustrating, where now all of a sudden, hey, USC is going to go to Nebraska. Are you going to get the Michigan USC or the Notre Dame? Like you don't know. You don't know. And that's what's tough, especially up front on both sides. You just need to know. You need to know what you have. You need to know what you have going into every game. And I don't know. I don't know what USC's taken to Nebraska at this point.
One of the things I think that kind of gets overlooked sometimes is, everybody says, well, SC has, the best offense in the country according to some measurements, but they only scored 24 points. That was well below what they average. Of course, Notre Dame's a better team, but 24 points is not going to win you games. Now, the good news is Ryan Sierre is really a sensational field goal kicker. He's proved that so far. He's really, really good. But you can't keep getting field goals instead of touchdowns. It's going to catch up with you. And this was a game where it did catch up with you. And if you make mistakes, and all football games for the most part are based on turnovers, and SC just made some incredible mistakes, turnover mistakes. They say better teams win close games, lesser than better teams lose close games. I guess it depends on how you feel, cup half full, half empty. But you know what? There was nothing that made me feel that SC would have won the game unless they had cut out all those mistakes. And I think, Chris, you put everything nicely. It's one of those things where you cannot continue to do the things they've been doing in the fourth year of Lincoln Riley's program. This is the fourth year. It's not the second year, the third year. I mean, the second year you say, well, they didn't have, Caleb Williams, okay, or they did have Caleb Williams. You could sit there and say, okay, in the third year, all right, now we don't have him. But the fourth year, it gets all back down to recruiting from, a couple of years ago. I've been harping, I think most who listen to what I say, which probably few people, the portal is not the answer. And if you go to the portal, you've got to get the right players, and you've got to find out why did these players leave the programs they were at. Okay. If they were that good, they wouldn't be leaving the programs for the most part. Caleb Williams was a different story. His head coach came and he liked his head coach. He wanted to be around his head coach. So that was an exception to, in my opinion, the rules. SC had a great portal roster that came in the first year under Lincoln Riley, but that didn't continue. And I do agree with Lincoln Riley trying to go and get Southern California high school players and develop them. That's really, really important. And I hope he can do it. I really do. I'm sick of hearing about head coaches and who's going to be the next coach at SC and what have you. Again, the offense, only 24 points, that's just not, beat really good teams.
Mark, Greg brought up the transfer portal. So Eli Sanders was I mean, he's out now, but that was a good pickup in the portal, right? That's a good back, explosive, and catch the ball. That's a good pickup.
USC is 100% with the transfer portal when it comes to running backs. There's
100%. He's nailed the running backs. That defensive transfer portal class this offseason is looking more and more like just an epic disaster, right? I mean, you have the two defensive tackles, you have the corner from San Jose State, linebacker from Penn State, and you look at it and say, are we getting what we expected out of any of those guys? I think the answer is no on all of them right now, right? And I don't know what to say about that, because you had holes you had to fill. You have to do what you can in the transfer portal. They even landed the guys in the transfer portal you think they should land. But geez, I mean, they have not gotten what they expected or what they needed out of that defensive portal class. And right now, it's a problem.
You looking for disagreement, or was that?
I'm just venting. Just go ahead and say whatever you want to say about whatever topic you want to talk about.
I can't disagree with you. I mean, that's the fact. So I guess I can go down this rabbit hole. Do we look at the guys in charge of development? Because you can't be wrong that many times on the defensive side of the ball. Not just this year. It's not just this year. It's happened before as well. So where do you stop pointing the finger? Is it the Jimmies and the Joes? Is it the X's and the O's? You can't look good as well as they did against Michigan and go 180 degrees the way they looked against Notre Dame. I get it. Notre Dame's a better team than Michigan this year. That much better? I don't think so. On that day, they definitely were. So yeah, I don't know why you don't have Josh Jarrett being able to just fall down, and Keyshawn Silver being able to fall down on top of him and allow your linebackers to come in and just clean up some mess, like you said, 6-7 yards. Now we have a chance. I don't know why we haven't been able to develop a linebacker. You know, you brought it up earlier in the show. We talked it up because we were talked up to by the coaching staff. There was an expectation level set, and now everything is under delivering, and you have disappointment. So at a certain point, you got to start looking at the coaching staff. Is it all them? No. Is it all the players? No. But there's somewhere in that mix is the answer.
I think the coaches know. I honestly do. We're not allowed in practice. We know that.
That's
right?
a whole other story. I agree.
Yeah, so it is a whole nother story, and it isn't part of the story, because if we were, we would have seen a lot of stuff beforehand. But that being said, in the end, I think that you can have all the X's and O's you want, but it's really about the players and the talent level of the players and their desire to win. You could sit there and say that Notre Dame's players were really intense. They really wanted to win. I'm not saying SC players didn't come out wanting to win, but Notre Dame really wanted to win. They didn't back down. And you know what? It would be fun to be a fly on the wall in the coaches' meetings to hear what they really think about certain players and where they think that they need to adjust. And everybody's going, oh, well, they're going to have another bye week. Maybe they'll come out and do what they did against Michigan, and maybe they will. I mean, I hope they do. I hope they win all their games. But at some point, and I agree with Culkin on some of it, it's really about the players wanting to do it. And I thought that, in my opinion, some of them were actually intimidated and couldn't keep up the intensity.
That might be the case. Here's where I'm coming from. And Chris, maybe you can back me up on this. The coaches have to put the players in their best position to be successful. I don't know if having the cornerbacks playing 10, 12 yards off the receivers helps their abilities. I don't know if having both your safeties playing too high when Notre Dame wants to run the ball is putting your defense in the best position to be successful. That's where I was going with it. Is it the X's and O's? I mean, after a while, when you've seen Notre Dame run through this gap this many times over and over again, adjust. You have to make some sort of adjustment. So CJ Carr wants to throw the ball. That's where
Yeah.
I'm going with this. It's not all on the players. But I agree with you. Sometimes it looks like, the players aren't executing the way they're being told to.
I honestly don't know what the players are being told, and we're not in meetings. I watch the games and I see things over and over again that I say that should have been fixed a long time ago. I don't understand why it's still happening. And at some point, it becomes a coaching problem, even if the player isn't following the coaching. Right? I mean, it's Game 7. If at Game 7 we're still doing the same things that have been disastrous in the past, then you got to put somebody else in there. I don't care who the somebody else is. I don't care if it's a walk-on. I don't care if you take a safety and stick him at linebacker and say, yeah, you're 197 pounds. Run to grass, hit the hole hard. Let's see what happens. But at some point, it is the coach's fault if the coaches tolerate the same things over and over again. Eric, was there any hint in the way the USC coaches talked in the offseason that maybe the front seven would get their heads caved in by Illinois and Notre Dame? Because I don't remember that. I remember a lot of happy talk. I don't remember that.
No, it was, I mean, Lincoln Riley says it all the time. We're different. It's different. It's different up there. We're different up there. You can see it. You can see it. We're different up there. Feels different. All of it. All of it. And I think the biggest thing for me, if we're looking at a sort of wholesale look at that Notre Dame game, you cannot sit at the podium after the Michigan game, and he was specifically asked about the offensive line and development and all that, but you cannot say we're a tough-ass physical program and then go do that on the road at Notre Dame. You can't say it because you're not, right? If that happens to you at all, let alone twice in 3 games, then you're not that, or you're not certainly not as much as you thought you were. And so that's where it becomes a little bit alarming, where did you know that was a possibility? Because if you looked at this team and go, there's no possible way that that's ever going to happen, then that's tough to hear, because then you don't have a real sense of what your team looks like, what their team looks like, and what's even possible to happen out there. And so again, those are all sort of things where you chalk up to, like, you see stuff happen, right? That the Michigan team 3 years ago or whatever, when they played TCU in the semifinal and gave up like 1,000 yards and 50 points, like stuff like that can happen, right? You could be a good defensive team. I mean, you see Georgia, right, this year, like they've given up 40 and Ole Miss just scored as many points as they wanted. But you can still find ways to win those games, and it's not like, holy cow, what's our DNA? Like, can we do anything? But when USC does it, it happens sort of so often where you just wonder, like, is there a real answer to that, or are the solid games just kind of like the other team had a down game and they couldn't travel, and you took advantage of that? So I think that, like, from this whole thing, Michigan game to this game, that's one of the things that stood out to me was Lincoln Riley sitting there and saying, we are this kind of program that can do this to people, and then just a swing and a miss at Notre Dame. And that's, again, it's the inconsistency of, hey, we think we're here, but we're really not. That's tough to hear and see on the field.
You know what, Eric? I want to take that point. I think it's a really good point. If you don't think that the coaches of Notre Dame didn't show their team or get that message.
Oh, they heard that. Oh, they heard that.
Oh, absolutely. You think that was not reminded to them at halftime as well? I mean, I can tell you, even if you're at a high school level, you tell your team that the other side saying that they're a one badass group, and you've got any type of players that really arise to those, that occasion. I mean, that Notre Dame team didn't let up. They proved, forget about the score, they proved that they are one badass football team, at least against USC. And the question is, why didn't SC pick it up if they were what Lincoln Riley said they were? And this is what I said about Lincoln Riley being careful what he says. Because when he says things and they don't turn out, it gets really, the credibility goes right down the tubes. And I don't think he needs to have that happen to him. He's got enough on his plate right now.
Yeah, you could tell when Riley said that after the Michigan game that the criticism has really stung him, right? The criticism that USC is soft, that they're not a physical team, punch him in the face. It bothered him, and it was a release for him to be able to say, look, this is who we are. The problem is, if that's who you are, you don't go out the next week and look like that. You don't. I mean, Pete Carroll had a game against Stanford at the very end when his team got run over like that. Right? And it was shocking to see. You know, he had a half against Oregon State in 2008 where things looked bad, but Pete's teams would pretty consistently show up, and even if they didn't play well, especially in the later years offensively, they'd still show up and hit you. They wouldn't just get punched in the face and roll over. USC's done way too much of that. They've done so much of it that national pundits and fans of other teams who only watch USC a couple of times a year because they don't really care that much, that's the one thing they know about USC. USC can't handle a physical football team. That's what everybody thinks, and USC goes out on the biggest stage and proves them right again. It's unbelievably frustrating. Hey, Eric, can we tee up that film?
Are you sure your heart's ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. I want to look at, okay. This is the long run at the very beginning of the game. And for those people who get frustrated with me when I write a scathing article and say that USC is soft, I want to explain in detail what I mean. Because I don't really understand what we're doing here. But all right, so here we are. This is obviously very early in the game. You know Notre Dame has a freshman quarterback. You know Notre Dame prides themselves on being a physical running football team. You know that back right there, Jeremiah Love, is a great football player. So Notre Dame has the offensive lineman and an H-back, 6 blockers. How many guys does USC have in the box? Seems to me they have 6 guys. You could argue Gentry, although I don't think so. Gentry, unless it's an outside play to his side, Gentry is not going to make a play unless it's 8-10 yards downfield, right? Okay, now, USC has a few problems that have become clear. Lincoln Riley said after the Notre Dame game that it looked like a stalemate to him up front, and that infuriated me when I saw it. There's some truth to it in this sense. If what Riley is saying is that their defensive linemen aren't getting driven back 5-6 yards, okay, I don't know what kind of standard that is, but that's true. But USC's down linemen do not get off blocks. If there's a guy to block them, they may not get driven back, but they will be blocked. And every once in a while, Jakeem Stewart or somebody will get off a block and make a play. But for the most part, that they're not able to do that. The really good defensive lineman that USC has had in the past, a good defensive lineman everywhere. I mean, Aaron Donald, if you wanted to block Aaron Donald, you had to double team him and pray. Because he was so explosive with his hands, he would get inside, he would control the offensive lineman, he'd shed the block, and he'd make the play. USC's defensive linemen don't do that, number one. That's a problem. Second problem, I want you to watch Braylon Shelby is the edge down at the – no, stop. Why is it that you have the outside linebacker spread out largely over that slot guy? The reason is because USC wants to be able to play that safety back 13 yards. And Notre Dame wasn't doing that. Notre Dame was, sometimes they would, but Notre Dame was getting up on our guys and just daring them. If they had to hold them, they had to hold them. USC, but if you're going to play your safety back 13 yards, you have to have somebody near that slot. Otherwise, it's a quick throw to him. He picks up the first down every time. You can't do it. So USC effectively has 6 guys in the slot. Now, I want you to watch Braylon Shelby as this play develops, because here's what's going to happen. This is going to be a clear run read, but I want you to watch what he does. Go ahead and start it. Okay, stop right there. Now, look, the tackle on his side blocked down. He wasn't trying to block the edge rusher. This is a running play. It could be an RPO play, possibly, but this is a run play. It's a run read. He comes upfield. At this point, he's only about a yard past the line of scrimmage, but he's going to come up even a little bit further. Watch what happens. Stop right here. Stop right here. Okay. Now, the running back didn't go to that side. That is not contained. What Braylon Shelby is doing there is not contained, because all you have to do is cut inside of that block and you have the edge. This happens repeatedly by all of USC's edge players. I don't know what we're teaching them, but what we should have had when Braylon Shelby sees the tackle blocking down, he should be looking for a pulling guard or an H-back coming his way to kick out. That's what you're going to see. He should meet him at most a yard upfield, try to keep his shoulders square. He should make contact with his right shoulder and keep his left arm free so he can still make a play if the running back comes that direction and bounces outside. Now, if he does that, Jeremiah Love at least has to give ground, and then that's the one play that your senior outside linebacker can actually make on the play. If you can make Jeremiah Love run east-west to the right, he may actually be able to run him down. Okay? But he's not really doing that. He's playing patty cake with the slot guy. And so if the hole to the left wasn't enormous, he has a hole to the right that's going to pick up huge yards too, because we're not playing contain in a way that makes any sense. All right, let's run back to the beginning. Let's see what else we have going on. All right, so you have this is a situation where you have three linebackers on the field. You have the outside backer to the right. He's coming up hard on that C gap. Go ahead and run that for a second. You got a double team on the defensive end. He's coming up hard to set the edge. Actually doesn't do a bad job of it. Maybe comes a little farther upfield than I'd like. Doesn't do a bad job of it. All right, so what's the problem with the play? Let's go back to the beginning. And listen, I'm gonna say some things that aren't gonna sound nice right now, but I have to say it, because if USC fans want to understand what's going on with their football team, the inside linebacker, Desmond Stevens, is playing against a team that he knows is committed to running the football. He's an inside linebacker. His primary job is to stop the run game. And we just saw that at the outset of this play, it's a run read. It is a run read. You don't have offensive linemen popping their heads up. You don't have the quarterback looking downfield. They are coming downhill to run the football. I want you to watch what Desmond Stevens does. Go ahead. All right, go back one more time. We have seen this so much that I'm now at the point where I'm wondering whether or not USC is teaching him to do this. Rob Ryan said in the offseason, I watched the interview again today. He said he wants his linebackers running downhill and splattering people. Is Desmond Stevens running downhill and splattering people? He hangs out about 3 yards away from the line of scrimmage, then takes a false step to the left for reasons I can't fathom, and waits until the linebacker is already on him and he can't make the play. And then it's off to the races. What should he be doing? Look, it's play side to the right. It's a run read all the way. He should, let's start from the beginning. He should right about, go ahead and run it. Right about now. He should be running to grass and filling that hole right now. Right now. What are we doing? Look, when I talk about USC being soft, I don't mean that these aren't tough guys. Desmond Stevens is probably a tough guy. He probably wants to hit people. But what I'm suggesting is that USC comes out against Notre Dame, a team that they know wants to cram it down their throats with a light box, and then an inside linebacker who simply will not play downhill. He will not do it. And it happens over and over again. If you don't believe me, just go watch the highlights.
Stop. Go back to when the play at the 30-yard line. Why is Bishop Fitzgerald so out of position as well? Why did he go so far to the left when that plays right in front of him?
He runs with the tight end. He runs with the tight end coming across.
The ball's already in loves hands.
Yep.
Well,
That's too many steps, right?
Yeah, I mean that is not a tight end that is running a pass route.
No.
Look, here's the point I'm trying to make, guys. I don't want to beat up on these guys, but if you watch this play, you see the same mistakes that you see over and over again. You have defensive linemen that are not controlling the offensive line with their hands and can't get off blocks. You have edge guys that are coming far too upfield to play proper contain, and you have linebackers that simply will not play downhill. They are not doing what Rob Ryan says he wants them to do, which is run downhill, splattering people. They are not doing that. This isn't the only time it happens. If I wanted to watch the whole Notre Dame game, I could show you 40 plays like this. I could show you 40 plays like this against Illinois. This is why USC is a soft football team. This is not how Notre Dame played USC. It's not what they did. Notre Dame's linebackers were screaming downhill. They were screaming downhill. And if you threw over their heads for 15 yards, they went back to the huddle, and you know what they did the next play? They were screaming downhill. They were, in fact, playing downhill, splattering people. That's what they were doing. They were playing linebacker. USC's linebackers don't play linebacker. When you watch USC's linebackers play, I played corner in college, and there were times when I would be 3-3 off the tight end because they're twins to the other side. And in that, and maybe I have the tight end as in man, maybe not. And I would play like USC's linebackers because if you're a defensive back, you cannot immediately commit to the run. Because if you do that, you give up touchdowns, which I occasionally did. You cannot do that. But if you're a linebacker, you cannot play the run like a corner. You cannot stand there and wait till the offensive lineman engages you 3 or 4 or 5 yards downfield. You can't do it. USC does it over and over and over and over again. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Is that what Rob Ryan teaches? I can't imagine it is, but it happens every week, so maybe it is. Dan Lynn is a football coach. He knows a lot more football than I do. Rob Ryan knows a whole lot more football than I do. Eric Henderson, Sean Newell, these guys all know a whole lot more football than I do. How can they watch this happen week after week after week and then tell us things like, well, you know what? I think we're, I think we're coming along. I mean, their position on Desmond Stevens is that he doesn't make the same mistake twice. What do you mean? I just showed you that play. He did that 40 times against Notre Dame. Is that Desmond Stevens' fault? I don't know, but I know it's the coach's fault because it happens over and over again. And I think if you have a linebacker who's doing that, you don't only have a light box, you don't have 6 in the box, you have 5 in the box because he's not in the play. You can't keep playing that way. I want nothing more than for Desmond Stevens to be an All-American linebacker. I want to beat up on the kid. I want to come on here and talk. I want to talk about him the way we talk about Mekhi Lemon most weeks. That's what I want, and that's what he wants too. Please help him. Please, Dan Lynn, Rob Ryan, please help him. Because you can't play linebacker like that and stop the run. You can't.
And he had a few flashes against Illinois. He had a few flashes against Michigan. Like there were some plays that he made in those games where you start to think, okay, like he's seeing it more, the experience is coming. Because Dan Lynn will talk a lot about him where, hey, this is, he was a safety in high school. Last year was his first real time coming up and playing linebacker. And I asked before the season, because look, I'm still sort of dealing with, hey, Julian Simon, he's going to be a guy. Rajon Davis, he's going to be a guy. Right? Taggart Curtis, he's going to be a guy. Like they all played edge or safety or something, not in the box in high school. And USC asked all those guys, get in the box, get at the line of scrimmage, deal with traffic, big linemen on every play now, and be really good run stopping inside linebackers. And it didn't work for any of them. None of them lasted at USC. None of them got a lot of playing time. And Dan Lynn said, hey, his instincts are great inside there. And again, this is still a young guy who needs time, needs experience. And you're seeing on a few of these plays, hey, where'd that defensive lineman go that maybe should have been there? Like he's getting washed and that hole's gigantic. Like there's so many things. And I know people, right? We gotta talk too. I know Jade is getting tackled on that play. Like I'm not going to skip through that. Anytime an offensive lineman falls on the back of a defensive lineman after hugging him, you usually see a flag. Didn't happen there. There's a few of those things we can go, but it doesn't change kind of what we're saying, where you can look at some run stop plays from Notre Dame and you think, oh my gosh, who had that guy? And it was just an extra guy. It was an extra hat that USC didn't have, right? All the linemen are engaged, and here comes the linebacker just absolutely screaming through, not even really a running lane, just a gap that he found he made, and he goes and makes contact in the backfield. Notre Dame had that a bunch of times in that game, and the linebacker play, just how aggressive it was, the first step towards the line of scrimmage, and just playmaking, making plays, making it hard for an offensive lineman to find you, to get to you, to quickly react. It was completely lopsided in that game.
You can't watch that play that we just analyzed and actually believe that USC was committed to stopping the run. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. Why do they have 6 blockers and we have 6 guys in the box, and why are we not flying downfield, right? Make them throw play action. Please make them do that. I don't get it. I think Rob Ryan and Dan Lynn would help Desmond Stevens a lot if they would tell him, you know what, Desmond? Just play downhill and fly to the football. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But go full speed. Go. Blast somebody.
I brought this up earlier. This is where USC did not exploit what should have been a Notre Dame weakness. You had a freshman playing center taking over for your best offensive lineman, and USC did nothing schematically to make that dude brown his pants. I mean, no blitzes up the middle, no twists, no stunts, nothing. And yes, Jade Abasiri got held on that play. Desmond Stevens looked like he didn't know where he was going on that play, but it was at the 3rd level as well. You can't have your deep safety misreading it that poorly. You're literally going to the wrong hash mark. You got to stay in your zone. That run doesn't go for 64, whatever it went for, if he maintains his integrity. I mean, it was just a breakdown all the way across, including the hold.
Yeah, look, and there was a video going around on the Notre Dame touchdown run where Desmond Stevens gets held and somebody else gets held on another play, and the holds were legit, and they should have been called, of course. I'm just tired of talking about holding penalties when our guys aren't doing like the fundamentals that you have to do in order to stop the run. They're not even trying to do that. So yeah, should a hold have been called? Sure. But whatever. I don't want to talk about that. Play downhill and stop the freaking run game. Please, just do that. And if the freshman quarterback has a huge day passing and you lose in South Bend, fine. But at least you don't do that and just allow them to push you around and stomp on you for 300 plus yards rushing. That's embarrassing. And that kind of crap has to stop. That has to stop.
And look, before it's Desmond Stevens is entirely responsible for 300 and whatever it ended up being yards. No. Right? I mean, Jaden Walker went in, he's flashed too, but like you can find some plays in there where it's sort of the same type of thing. Tamir Robinson, it's the same sort of thing. Like we talked in the offseason, do you need to go get a veteran, experienced inside linebacker who's done this before and can do this? And they didn't. I mean, Easton Mascarenas-Arnold and Mason Cobb, like they had their limitations. They had some problems, but you always kind of feel, they know what they're doing. Like they're going to be kind of in there and at the very least, like they're going to give you, I guess, what you expect kind of from an inside linebacker. And so you don't have that this year. And so it's going to be, do we need to pour snaps into him and just bring him along and let him see stuff and get that experience and all that? Like I said, you can go back. Nobody played well at Illinois. There's a few plays from Desmond in there. There's a few plays from him at Michigan. Like there's some stuff that's in there, and Notre Dame clearly just said we're going duo. We're running somebody at him, and we're going to make him have a bit make plays in this game.
He had some plays at Michigan where he was in fact running downhill, filling the hole, and I remember watching the game thinking, okay, He's
Yeah.
starting to figure it out. But and no, I don't want to keep beating up on him. Although when teams consistently run between the tackles with no resistance, your inside linebackers kind of get the finger pointed at him a little bit.
Sure.
But it's not just him. The defensive linemen they're not getting off blocks. They get blocked. They just do. They just get blocked. And Lincoln Riley can say, well, it's a stalemate. Yeah, cool. But who wins a stalemate if you have 4 defensive linemen and 4 of your offensive linemen are blocking those guys so that they can't make a play and your running backs are running for huge yards? That's stalemate kind of wins for them.
How many times have we said if the offensive line for USC can get a stalemate, SC's going to win easily in this game? I mean, we've said that for like 4 years now. Defensive
players have to get off blocks. They can't just stand there and say, well, stalemate, pointing for me. No, you have to get off freaking blocks. And our guys are struggling to do that. And our linebackers are not playing downhill. And the secondary doesn't understand leverage and alignment. I mean, guys, it's gruesome. And I guess I was going to say, I don't want to come on here and complain all night, but what are you going to do? I'm going to come on here and put the happy face on and say, hey, we only lost by 10 at Notre Dame. Wasn't that a great performance? It wasn't. It wasn't. It was embarrassing. And at USC, you shouldn't get embarrassed like that. And it shouldn't happen all the time. And in Lincoln Riley's tenure at USC, they've been embarrassed a bunch. A bunch. I don't want to count them up, but I bet it takes more than 2 hands. They get embarrassed a bunch. And it's about time for Lincoln Riley to put a stop to that. He told us that it was different this year. It's different. It feels different. We're bigger. We're more physical. We got depth. It's different. Coach, it's not different. It's still embarrassing. Fix it.
And it's tough because you can go back to, we could pull tape from Michigan where it's like, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what it is supposed to look like. And that's what makes the Notre Dame one even more frustrating because it's like that you could do it. We've seen you do it. I mean, I go back to where this whole thing started, that LSU game. Is that the bet? I mean, maybe there's probably a couple things in there between now and then you can go back to, but like everything they did in the LSU game, everything. The rest of that year, you just didn't see it again. I mean, that's turned out to be such fool's gold, or at least like find that consistency. And again, you put it on tape against Michigan, like you've done a little bit as you go. Find that consistency. Find it so that every week yep, the edge is going to get set. This hole's going to get filled. You know that. And sometimes you're going to run into a team where it's like they've got coaches too, and they put together a scheme, and the scheme just beat you on that one. And that guy made a great play, and that's how college football goes. But to show up as a team that can just absolutely, not even punch for punch with Michigan, like knock them out, and then be on the absolute other side of that a week later, that's where the frustration is even deeper against I mean, the fact that it's Notre Dame has a lot to do with it too. But the back-to-backness of really good, really bad, that's hard.
That might be the last USC Notre Dame game.
Don't put that out there. Don't put that. Don't put that into.
I don't think
the whole frustration, though, man. It's been part of the buildup. USC had a chance to end this series by doing what they did to Michigan against Notre Dame, by getting that monkey off their back, taking that Jules Shillelagh back home, and having Notre Dame come on bended knee saying, all right, we'll play you guys every year, beginning of the season. USC didn't follow through.
Greg, you've been silent. Are you crying or?
No, I'm just listening to all your viewpoints. I whether I agree with them or I don't agree with them, I like to hear them. And if I say something, they'll say, "Oh boy, you have issues with Lincoln Riley, or you have issues with this, or you have issues with that." Look, I coached for a long time. I was in terms of football, I was involved with football teams that were really successful. And I saw what really successful football teams, basketball the same way. X's and O's are important, no doubt about it. Schematics is important. But at this point in time, they have to play the best players. It's not about we're afraid if we don't play all these players, they're going to get tired or they're going to lose. they're not in that position. They have 5 games left to play. And you got to put the best players that combine the best physical and mental approach that learn. And if some players don't like it and want to transfer out, go. I have no patience when I coach for players that think that they were going to be, spotted a spot because they like the sport. In any sport that I've ever been involved in, or when I played and when I coached, it's not that you like the sport, it's that you love the sport. If you love the sport, that's number one in your heart and in your head. And you don't accept losing. I don't think these players accept losing, but I'll tell you what they have to accept is how they're losing. And if they don't listen to the coaches, they're going to have the same thing over and over again. I would hate to see against Nebraska, and I've been to the game in Nebraska, and the fans are really into it. They're very polite in the sense of being, they're not going to say some things that really like, whoa, boy, where are we?
They're not Oregon fans.
What's that?
They're not Oregon fans.
No, Oregon fans are a whole different ball game, shall we say. We'll get to that much later. But you know what? Nebraska can win the game. Riola is a quarterback that SC was after at one time, and if he has a big game and, they can't get to him or whatever, it's going to be tough. They can't afford to lose to Nebraska. If they lose to Nebraska, let me tell you something. Even UCLA, I watch UCLA. They're playing with emotion and heart. And anybody thinks that SC is going to go in there and just beat the hell out of them, if they're still winning down the line here, they're going to make it a game. I'm not going to say that they're going to win, by 2 touchdowns, but they're going to make you know that you played. And SC has to go into every game and say, we got to make sure that team knows that they played USC. And I think one of the problems is, and I don't want to get talking. At my age, okay, I have seen the great teams of McKay. I was 12 years old when they first won the national championship. I went through the whole McKay era. I went through all of them. I know, and in those days you could go to practice on some of them. I know what they're supposed to look like. I know when people say, oh, we got to play SC, man, they're going to kick our ass. And you know what? They did. They did. And it wasn't the fact that SC won every game with McKay 45-0. No, it was they would hammer at you for 3 quarters, and by the 4th quarter, you were just like a pancake. You were just getting knocked over. It happened with McKay. It happened on the first Robinson era. It happened with Pete Carroll. Okay. But they all have this thing in common. They're physically tough and they're smart. And even if they lose, you don't sit there and say, well, they got out hit. That's one of the great things about football that I always laughed at. This is the idea that, yeah, they won, but we out hit them. Well, apparently you didn't out hit them enough because you lost. And that's how I look at it. So, no, I think all you guys have done a really good job. I really like the video presentation. And I think, the fans can learn a lot. I would actually advise the fans to read Chris's article. I really enjoyed it. I want you to know that. He didn't pull any punches. I know he doesn't pull much here on the video here, but he really gets into it in, I thought, a really classic way of saying, hey, here are the issues, and you have to be aware of them, and you don't agree with it, we're just going to continue making the same problem. So read Chris's article. I think you should read all the columns, Eric's and Mark's. They always have something that you can look at, whether you agree with them or not, or mine. That's the advantage of, when you can come on and tell the public what you actually think. And all of us have an inside to the program. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Lincoln Riley's tried to cut it off a lot. He's been very nice about it and everything else, but I know this is going to sound very arrogant. We know what we're talking about. And and sometimes we make mistakes. I get that, and everybody makes mistakes, but most of the time we're pretty spot on.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Mark, your last word.
I've said all I have to say about this game. I'm done.
Okay. Eric?
Let's see if I can come up with something. So I didn't want to say this before because it's awful to say out loud, and I never want to be the guy that says this, but I actually thought there was you could have come away from that one with a moral victory. Like I think there was a shot that USC could have gone in and won. I think they could have won that game. Notre Dame had some issues. This is not the bet, right? I think this Notre Dame team is very good. I don't think it's as good as even the Notre Dame team was last year. And certainly the way they played was not as well as they played last year. And USC is better this year than last year and played with last year's Notre Dame team just fine. Just fine. Again, at home. But I thought USC could have gone in there and played the same way physically as they did against Michigan. And even if they lost a close one, 28-24, right, with how it ended up playing out, whatever, I think you could have said, you know what, that's a missed opportunity, but that's back-to-back weeks where they've gone kind of punch for punch with good physical teams. And it would have been, they can't win on the road and they can't beat Notre Dame, and there would have been all that sort of stuff still. And yeah, you have to say that. But I still think there was a chance that you could have come out of there feeling okay about, hey, I feel good about how they're going to play going to Nebraska. I feel good about all the home games. And maybe they go up and go punch for punch a little bit with Oregon too. And you lost that. You lost that ability. Even though, again, that's a game that you could have stolen. Without everything the way it played out, you got a touchdown here, you got a kickoff return stop here. Could have stolen that game, but you still look at the rushing yards and you go, ugh, that feels bad. That feels bad coming home with that performance. And so now, spinning it forward, I hesitate to call anything a must-win game. A must-win game means your season or your career is over if you lose it, right? That's the only time you have to win. I don't know. I don't think Michigan was that, but it was as close as it gets where it's you have to win a game against a really solid to good Big Ten team at home. Just at all. But at home, you had an opportunity. You have to beat that Michigan team. This game against Nebraska, it's the same thing. It's the road version of that. I think Nebraska's pretty good. They've given up, I don't know, 1,000 sacks in the last handful of weeks. But this feels like a game you have to go on the road and beat this specific Nebraska team. There's going to be Nebraska teams down the line where it's like, oh, that's going to be probably, maybe, if Matt Rule can get it going. There's going to be Nebraska teams where it's like, this is going to be a tough road game, right? There's a chance you have to win, but this is going to be tough. This Nebraska team, you have to go beat. I think you have to go win this game. And you have to find the Michigan effort and intensity and do it on the road and after a bye week and all of that. And that's program check time, right? What's the healthier program? Can you do that? I think this is a big one. It's a big one for Lincoln Riley and for USC.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I haven't said anything positive all day. I'm going to say something positive. It just has nothing to do with the actual football game. One of the nice things about going to away games is you meet Trojans tailgating, people who love this program enough. They spend a fortune to go out and go to these games. And so to the people who gave me shelter when that monsoon started Saturday, Alex, whose dad watches this show, I want to get this right. This is how he wanted me to say it. The Lithuanian with the crazy name who also gave us shelter and food during the monsoon. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. That's the only thing that made that night less of a disaster. As for the rest of this, it matters how you play. And especially in football, getting pushed around is humiliating and bad. It's bad for the psyche. It's bad for recruiting. It's bad for everything. What I most want is for USC not to win all their games. I want that, but I knew this team wasn't good enough to win all their games. But I want them to go out and play aggressively and hit and attack every damn week and never, ever, ever tolerate being pushed around for 4 quarters like that. They didn't have to be pushed around like that for 4 quarters. They did not have to be. It is not a talent thing. Not that. That's an attitude thing. That's a commitment to physicality thing. And what Lincoln Riley's program showed us Saturday is embarrassing. And it's not something you should see from USC. And it's not something I ever want to see again. And the reason I'm angry is because I think I am going to see it again. I can give you the date, by the way, that I'm going to see it again. And it's not okay. I want them to fix that. This is the program of Junior Seau and Ronnie Lott and Marcus Allen and Charles White and Anthony Munoz and Raymond Maluga. This is a program of tough dudes who would go after you. They would go after you. That's what USC football is supposed to be about. I can handle a loss, especially a loss to a good team on the road. That stuff happens. None of us should be able to handle what we saw Saturday. Put a stop to it. It's nonsense. That's all I have to say. I will talk about Nebraska next week. It is a must-win game. We'll cover that. And maybe we'll have a happier show coming up. Maybe we'll even turn a corner and work some magic in Eugene, but probably not. Guys,
we'll see.
That's enough. That's enough. I don't want to talk about that.
College football.
That makes me sad just thinking about it. All right, we're out of here. Until then, until next week, fight on, everybody.